The number of sexless marriages globally and in Singapore is growing. Not just sexless marriages, but sexless relationships.
This is Chi, a US citizen originally from China. After studying at Stanford and building her career in New York, she moved to Singapore and made a bold midlife switch from investment world to mental health therapy. She shared how to stay focused in everyday life, whether every couple needs their marriage to be saved, and if it's possible to live a balanced yet successful life. I'm Max Chernov. Let's focus.
Okay, can I try to solve some of my problems during this interview?
This is a therapy session.
Yeah.
My favorite thing.
I try to be focused in life. I know where focus, then the same place there are money, like success, etc., etc. But there are many distractions.
Yeah.
News, social media. I sometimes find myself like scrolling the Instagram reels, but I don't want to spend like 20 minutes of my time doing it. What would be your advice? How to be focused? How to be still in the society and like keep up
with so many distractions.
Conversations with your friends, but not always be on the news or like how's the American elections, blah blah blah, this kind of stuff.
First thing, therapists don't give advice, right? We can talk about, we can educate, psychoeducate, and then we figure out what makes sense for you. And most of what we're trying to do is ask you questions so that you discover the answers that are innate to you. So my first question is, why do you want to make this behavior change? What is the impact on you now? Right? After you scroll for 20 minutes, what happens?
I feel that I just lost 20 minutes of my life.
Okay, so there's a feeling of regret or anger, maybe even with yourself, or
not anger, but regret. Like why I'm doing this?
Why did I do that? And what do you want to feel instead? And what do you want to be doing instead?
Working or just going exercise. 20 minutes multiply 3, doing it during the day is like 60 minutes. It's like like you can go to the gym for 60 minutes.
Yeah. So I think you've answered your own question, right? You understand the boundaries. You already have a very clear metric in mind, which is 20 minutes is too much. For most clients who come into therapy for the first time, they don't have this level of awareness yet. So you've actually been quite articulate. And I would ask them, okay, so people, let's say you came in instead saying, oh, I'm doom scrolling so much, and it's, you know, what should I do about it? Then I'll ask, right, like, what happens when you're doom scrolling? For you, the scrolling is kind of tangentially related to your work, right? Some level of social, is it? Is it not?
No, I mean, I can explain it to myself like that, but
but it doesn't.
But okay, like watching the long form videos, some particular ones, yes.
Yeah.
But doom scrolling, no. No, not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay, so to maintain focus, you need to understand the boundaries. Why am I doing something? Okay, I'm doing it as research for work, or I'm doing it because I'm too tired to do something else, or I'm doing it because, you know, my wife and I, this is our like de-stress bonding time. Then, you know, understand the purpose, understand how much time or what guardrails you want to put around it so that it still serves its positive purpose. Because you're saying beyond 20 minutes, you're upset at yourself, right? That's, you know, 2 starting points for regulating behavior. And then the third is to really notice what happens before an event. Do you, like people who have weight management problems, when do you start overeating? Is it because you've been starved for 6 hours, or you had a bad breakup, or you know, you saw somebody and they made you feel bad because you're comparing yourself to them, right? We isolate the emotions that arise before the event, then the event, which is some kind of behavior, and then we isolate what happens to you after the event. Most couples who come to see me together say, you know, we spend time together every day, we just sit there and watch Netflix. And I'm asking them, does that feel good? Because that's a passive consumption of stimulus that's pushed at you, whether by an algorithm, well, by an algorithm too, because on Netflix, it will keep pushing you similar type of, you know, true crimes that, I don't know, give you nightmares and you sleep badly, right? So observe the before, observe the behavior, observe the after, then ask yourself, what do I actually want to feel after? Then you change the before. Or if I know that before something happens, I typically am feeling this way, create an alternate behavior plan, right? If I'm starving, I will overeat. Okay, can I pack myself in the morning, spend 10 minutes making small snacks that are easy to grab, that are healthy? Because I know that convenience is always unhealthy. Right? You go to any vending machine, it's going to be a soda or a chocolate bar or something. But if you have time to cut up some cucumber sticks and it's already there in your office and you can just grab it and have a snack, that keeps you from starving and then overeating. You know, I'm oversimplifying it, but this chain of behavior, emotion, behavior, outcome analysis is the foundation of certain types of therapy. Most people just react.
Yeah.
We react to the world. We are not intentional. And then reactions are unthoughtful, then they have often negative consequences. So what I'm asking people to do is slow things down, think about what you want, notice what you're doing that's contrary to where you want to be, then reverse engineer, right? Based on where I want to be, what should I be doing before the impulse overtakes me? Mindfulness is such a hot word, right? Everybody's like a mindfulness guru, this and that. But this is basically mindfulness, understanding what is going on inside of you rather than being a creature of reactions. Eating, gambling, shopping too much, that's me, right? If I'm super stressed and I haven't planned my day well, I'm gonna shop something at 3 a.m. and my husband wakes up and says, what did you buy last night? I'm like, I have no idea, I forgot because I woke up. Yeah.
Let's say I have a conflict with my wife, and then it's not too bad. It's bad, but it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So would you advise me to go to my, let's say, best friend and just talk to him, maybe have a drink and just chat and release this tension, maybe? Or I go straight away to the therapist? How I find this, the right way to tackle it?
Both can work, and it depends on the person, right? I used to work in finance. Most of my friends were cut out the emotion, focus on the job, focus on the numbers. So every time I started talking to my friends, I actually felt worse. I love my friends dearly, but their way of thinking was not emotionally focused, and we all worked in very competitive environments, and we are busy, so we tend to dismiss things. Oh, but is that really a problem? But everybody's doing that. What's wrong with it? Yeah. So those things made me feel worse. Back then, I probably should have gone to a therapist, but it took me like over 10, 15 years to figure out that this was a thing. But for other people, maybe your first step can be your friends. I see a lot of clients who came in because their best friend or their sister or their mother was reading books and watching these Instagram psychology reels and realizing that there's something to emotional management. So then they talk to this person and they get to a point where they say, maybe you should see a professional, right? Maybe it's serious enough. So definitely having social support is better than having nothing. And there's a limit also to how much energy your friends and family can dedicate to you.
Yeah.
Hey guys, just a quick announcement. Don't skip. I'll be running a 3-day workshop called Fast Track to Views and Profits on YouTube. If you ever wanted to start your own channel, this is the best way to do it. You will learn how to choose the most profitable niche and how to beat the YouTube algorithm. You're gonna love it, I promise. Link in description, so sign up if it's for you. And now back to the video.
You have 4 kids.
Yes.
Yeah? It's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids.
You're probably super busy.
Yes.
What would be your advice to someone, to a family, who want to develop their relationships? Let's say they've been married for like 10 years, 15 years, like long time, have a couple of kids, 2+, and they are busy normally, they have busy jobs. What would be your advice how to improve their relationships first?
There are 3 things that I typically recommend a couple to start building quality time into your day. And one exercise is a daily 5-minute check-in. And I don't mean 5 minutes where you're like, okay, Tommy's got soccer tomorrow, so we have to pack the soccer shoes. And Janice needs rain boots because they're going on a field trip or something, right? That is not an emotional conversation.
Yeah.
I also don't mean like, hey, did you already do that? Did you already do that? Nope. I don't mean a complaint. I don't mean a task. I mean an actual conversation about your feelings. And when couples come to see me, I teach a very specific 5-minute way of talking about your feelings. We won't do that here because it'll take a bit of time. But
maybe the short, the concise version of it.
It's a bit kooky, which is why I don't want to talk about it here. But when people try it, it really, really is a game changer. 5 minutes. And why did I pick 5 minutes? Because I know 5 minutes is you're scrolling your phone while sitting on the toilet.
Yeah.
You can cut that time. You can save it. If you smoke, 5 minutes is a smoke break.
Yeah.
If you're you can have 5 minutes. Any couple that says,
so it's 5 minutes, you wake up, let's say, and somewhere in the morning.
Yeah, somewhere in the morning or after the kids have gone to bed.
Yeah.
Quiet time, quiet place. Sit side by side. Maintain some kind of physical touch. So you can be holding hands.
Okay.
You can be touching knees. You can, have a cuddle, because the physical touch stimulates biochemical responses that help you feel good, right?
Yeah.
Oxytocin, it's the same hormone you get, it's the same chemical that you get when you're cuddling a baby or a puppy.
Yeah.
And then it's 2.5 minutes per partner. One person is gonna speak and one person is gonna listen. And the speaker is gonna talk about I. Because the minute you start saying you, That's you giving your husband a task, a complaint, a criticism, a reminder. Then the other person's like, I don't want to be here, right? I don't want my therapist to tell me to spend 2.5 minutes listening to you tell me what to do, right? We already do that in our everyday life. So important thing is you're going to talk about I. You're going to use a phrase that helps you stay present. So you're not going to talk about 10 years ago, you didn't help me plan the wedding, right? That's a horrible emotional conversation, right? Everyone's going to run away from that. You're going to use the phrase, I'm noticing that. So this is basically, if anybody's done meditation or mindfulness practice, this is basically a verbal version of meditation, and you do it together rather than in isolation. So what can you notice? I'm noticing something physical. Oh, I'm noticing, Max, as we talk, the wind is blowing in my hair and it's quite warm in here. You can notice something mental. I notice that I'm quite anxious today because I've got a big event tomorrow. You can notice an emotion, right? I'm noticing that I feel sad because my husband's been on a business trip and it's been a very long one and I miss him. Right? So when you notice these things, the listener has no obligation nor any right to respond. Why do we do this? Because many of us, especially male partners, don't know how to deal with emotions. When our partner comes to us and says, oh, I'm sad, you're like, oh shit, I gotta do something. Let me give her a solution.
That's my normal response.
Shit. Right? You want to problem solve or you want to shy away from it because you don't know how to engage. So removing the obligation gives you space to actually just listen. And that is actually the number one thing people want. People just want listening most of the time. But most of us jump on giving them a solution, some advice, some reassurance that feels empty, like it's going to be fine. Okay, so the listener is just there to listen. After one person finishes, you switch roles.
And I talk about what? Anything?
Anything. The rule is it's 2.5 minutes, no matter how much or how little you have to say. So if it's empty and you really don't know what to say, for those of us who are not used to opening up like this, notice the present. Say, I'm noticing I have nothing to say, okay? I'm noticing that I feel a bit awkward about this. And for someone who has a lot to say, finish your last thought when your 2.5 minute timer goes off and stop there. So what's gonna happen when you do this 14 days in a row? You're gonna notice that 3 days out of 5, your partner keeps telling you that they're stressed. They notice that mentally they're stressed about a work deadline. It's gonna make you a lot more patient when they snap at you because you know it's not about you. It's about their job stress. It also means that at the end of the week, you've done this exercise and you notice your partner has been saying they feel lonely, you have time on the weekend to approach and say, hey, I've noticed you've been feeling lonely lately. You know, is there anything that we can do to like alleviate that? Is there something you want to talk about further? This is an opportunity to engage in something that doesn't turn into a 5-hour fight or a 2-hour cry fest. And people get overwhelmed by that, right? You've got jobs, you've got kids, you don't have time to address your emotions. So for 5 minutes a day, you get the privilege of having your partner open themselves up and share with you what is really going on with them. And that's valuable because most of us think we know our partners, but we really don't. Most of us don't even know ourselves what's happening. So that 2.5 minutes is also a precious time for you to notice what you feel and what you do and what the consequences of those behaviors are. There's your ABC chain.
Awesome. That was number one.
Number one. Number 2 is a weekly conversation. And the weekly conversation, set it for 20-30 minutes. And it's, you know, for starters, you can keep it super simple. This is a time where we don't talk about the grocery list, we don't talk about chores, because none of those things relate to our role as husband and wife. Those things are all administrative, logistical. They are not emotional. And marriage, partnership is an emotional enterprise. So during your weekly check-in, you can do something simple like, what was something we did together as a team that felt so good? Like, we did this well. Oh yeah, you know, Tommy was crying and instead of letting me, you know, lose my temper with him, you stepped in, distracted him and resolved the situation. I really appreciated that. And then what is one thing that didn't go so well for us as a team, but you know, we want to do better on it next week? Oh, you know, when I wanted to talk to you about my work project, you were so focused on your thing, you know, you totally ignored me. I didn't feel good. So why is this important? Because most of us are either ultra high conflict, so we're fighting all the time, which is not a constructive way to work through your emotions, or we're ultra avoidant. We don't bring the small things up week to week until it blows up. Right? So then you're like, oh, I'm shocked. My wife just blew up at me saying, I've been feeling this way for 6 months. And you're like, I had no idea. Right? So imagine if you had a weekly again, time-blocked avenue of hearing the little things that come up before they become huge.
Awesome.
Right. And the third thing is have yourselves a weekly logistics meeting. This is super important because once you have kids and once you have mortgages to pay, this is the stuff that clogs up your life. And if you don't have a set time for it, that means one person is doing more of it than the other, or the household is chaotic and you cannot find the quality time you need because everything is done last minute. Right? So if you sit down and intentionally match your calendars, know what school supplies you need to buy, know whose birthday party you're attending, who's on point for this, who gets to go out with their friends one-on-one while the other parent is on duty, your lives will run much smoother. It also means that you really learn to separate the logistical conversations from the emotional conversations in your relationship. That is super important because most people mistake being around their spouse, talking to their spouse a lot for quality time. That is not quality time. That is just operational time. You are just running a business of a household.
Every time I interview people like Chi, I feel so inspired to improve my skills and grow. And honestly, it's pretty cool that today gaining a new skill isn't as hard as going back to university, especially if you know about Skillshare, who is kindly supporting today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community offering thousands of classes for your career, hobbies, or just trying something new. You can learn everything from AI technologies and marketing to photography and even dancing. Yeah, you can satisfy all your hidden desires.
Nice.
Maybe you've always dreamed of doing something creative, but you have a job, family, and your time is super limited. In that case, Skillshare will be really helpful for you. All their courses are on demand. You can learn at your own pace, no rush, no deadlines. Actually, my team and I also took a Skillshare class on mastering Notion for managing our video production. And it really helped us simplify our workflow. And the best part, you can access all these classes for free during the 1-month trial. Just click the link in description below. The first 500 people will get to explore the entire library of classes with experts in their areas of interest completely free. So, if you want to try something new or improve your skills, now is the perfect time to start.
What was the most challenging request from your clients, without calling names, but something like very unusual that you not expected and then you need to deal with it?
I think the toughest, and by tough I don't mean that it's draining on me, but that it takes more time, is when couples come in and they don't have similar goals for the couples therapy. So couples coming in, one has thought about divorce, the other one is shocked by it, or they both want a divorce, but then they also think they should stay together for the kids. Because then we spend a lot of time working through, discerning what it is that they want. Whereas couples who come in, they're like, you know what, we haven't had sex in a year, we're both unhappy about it, we don't, we no longer go on dates and we just don't like each other anymore. I just feel like I'm his mother or he feels like my roommate. We want to get our relationship back to what it was like before kids. That's straightforward. Then we go in there and we go with the interventions right away. But with couples who aren't really sure what they want, it's a long process of figuring out, okay, what do you want? What do you want? And how do we make these two work together? As for specific things, I think it's also really tough for me personally, because one area I think that a lot of couples therapists are maybe undertrained on is sex therapy. And then, I'm sure you read the news, the number of sexless marriages globally and in Singapore is growing, right? Not just sexless marriages, but sexless relationships, right? Millennials are having, Gen Z are having relationships where they just scroll and they don't have physical intimacy. So when couples come in saying that they really haven't had any physical intimacy, and I've had couples who are in the boat of like, it's been 10 years, it's been 20 years, that's really hard because yes, part of it is the emotional disconnection, but even when you build back the emotional connection, it's not guaranteed that the sparks just fly, right? And there are a lot of famous therapists who talk about this, right? Emily Nagoski, Esther Perel. The science on sexuality, to me, it's still a question mark. I'm not sure that I fully understand. So when we work through that together, I'm also learning along with the clients.
Coming back to stay together for the kids, should you do it? Because some people really need to divorce, I guess. Not every couple needs to save their marriage. Coming
from the culture background that I come from, the staying for the kids argument I see so often. And if we keep it narrow and say just staying together for the kids, I would really challenge that. right? And people come in, say this to me all the time, and I ask them, is that really it? Are you telling me there is nothing else in your marriage, in your relationship, that makes you want to stay together? If the couple is saying that there is nothing, no ounce of friendship or love left, and they're just doing it for the kids, well, from the kids' perspective, we grow up and we replicate the relationship dynamics that feel familiar to us, right? Statistically, why are women who grew up watching an alcoholic male figure in the household or an abusive male figure in the household so much more likely to be in the same relationship as adults? It's not because they think that's what they want. In fact, most people who grew up in an abusive or, household, they will say, I will not be with a man who does this to me. But when we approach a male figure as adults, that feeling of familiarity, here's somebody strong, domineering, or whatever dynamic that they observed, it feels natural to them. And it's easy to mistake the familiar for the good. So for kids growing up in families where the parents have no love left for each other, they're going to think when they have an adult partner, oh, why are you talking to me all the time? This is weird, right? Why are you trying to get to know my feelings? This feels unsafe to me. Yeah. When in fact, so that's my biggest thing about the staying together for the kids. Do we really want to tell the kids that this is how you have a good relationship? We model good behavior for children on everything else, right? I don't see any moms on the East Coast in my neighborhood stealing candy from 7-Eleven and telling their kids, shouldn't steal, okay? You should be honest. So why are we telling our kids, get into a fulfilling relationship, but I'm gonna stay in my unfulfilling one? On the other hand, I also recognize that culturally, for many people, divorce is not a matter between two people. It is generational, it maybe is tied into business, it maybe is tied into, so many issues. And I'm not going to push any, religion, right, is another big one.
Like extended family.
Exactly. So in those situations, I think, okay, I understand, but then they're not just staying together for the kids. They're staying together for a set of values that they're trying to live up to. And in these situations, the outcome of therapy may not be a romantic, sexual, loving relationship, but it still can be a friendship, because these two people subscribe to the same life values and the same vision of what a good life means, and they can appreciate each other for making that possible, even when things don't feel romantically 100% there. For me, from a culturally diverse counseling perspective, I think that's still a good outcome. But the whole I'm a martyr to my children, the children won't appreciate it. The number of adult clients who tell me, I wish my parents had gotten a divorce, or I wish my parents had divorced earlier. Children want to be around happy parents. And two people fighting a Cold War, living in a strange marriage, you are not making your children happy. Some people are going to hate me for saying this, but I think it's important to present the other side.
I think it's just so difficult to drastically change your life when you need to divorce. Like logistics is huge. And also the problem starts is when one of the partners don't have a job. It's most of the cases it's woman. You don't have a source of income, you're basically screwed. If you're not happy in the relationship, you don't have, and you live in not in your home country, you live somewhere
that
else.
Is a big one. At the same time, we are living in a time where divorce laws and childcare and maintenance and alimony, these structures are in place. So if you were, I think most people who come to me with that thought, they are so afraid that they haven't done the research. And if they do a little bit more research, they will realize that as a stay-at-home mother, if you were to, if you're really unhappy or if your husband's abusive, you don't have to be trapped in a marriage, because there are provisions for that, right? There are options, avenues to research before you shut it down. I think what I find challenging is when you shut down an idea and say, my life is miserable, I'm gonna stay in it because I can't even think about the alternative. Why not allow yourself the freedom to think, to explore? Without that curiosity and a little bit of courage, you know the answer. You will be trapped in this unhappy life. And this applies to everything outside of this example, right? People who want to change like the behaviors that we talked about earlier, doom scrolling, and you say, oh, but I could never stop doom scrolling. Why not?
Yeah, I agree. It's just so much harder, I think. It depends on your husband, and you live in Singapore and you're from Europe, let's say. If you get divorced, what do? Move back to your country? Or how you cannot stay in Singapore, your kids are here, so you need to make it's possible, but the changes are so much bigger, and the pain is so much bigger than this Cold War.
So I am not minimizing the difficulties. What I am saying is, you owe it to yourself in this one precious life you have to explore and question. All of our assumptions are not right. We cannot contemplate sunshine when we're in the storm. But after the storm, there is sunshine. And what, to your point, if really the marginal cost of you staying in an unhappy marriage is in fact, after your research and challenging your thought process, lower than the marginal cost of splitting the family across 2 continents, fine, then you've made an intentional decision. And knowing that you've made an intentional decision will make the misery of it, in fact, more bearable. Because now instead of saying, I'm so stuck, you're saying, I looked at the options and I found out that this is in fact the best option. It's not my favorite option, but it's the best option. Okay, I chose this. You have a sense of autonomy, you have a sense of purpose. You know why you're suffering. But when you suffer because you're in this bubble, not daring to look outside to see if there is in fact life outside the bubble, that's when the suffering becomes unbearable. That's what I'm challenging people to do. Question your assumptions, have the courage to do some research, figure out if something else is possible, then make a real decision. Yeah. Without that process, you are just acting reactively and you are going off assumption.
I think also what people kind of underestimate that, and maybe it's also Asian mentality, to be like A+, 100%. It needs to be 100% or 0. So if our relationships is not the best in the best and like ideal, then it's bad. But basically, it's, so it can be somewhere in the middle. Yes. You can be happy. Yeah. It's not maybe the sex life is not the same as when you just start dating, which is probably okay. If you get to the same level that it was before, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's okay if you're like happy for like 95% or 85%. Yeah. Is it the right thinking?
I'm really glad you brought this up because we talked a lot about assumptions so far, right? And we focus so much on what's going on in your mind and how does that relate to your emotions and your behavior. And one of the faulty or unhelpful ways of thinking that we all do is black or white thinking. If I didn't get 100% on this test, I'm stupid, right? If my marriage isn't perfect, then it's a failure. These are simply not true. So again, the exercise there is to notice what thoughts you're having that make you feel really awful and question the thoughts. Right? Examine your assumption. Is that true? And what does a perfect marriage mean anyway, right? In your 20s to your 80s, I think what we need out of marriage and relationships are different. Give your life a fair chance by questioning, am I jumping to conclusions? Am I basing my life on a scale that only has 2 ratings and it's 0 or 100?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
What the word balance mean for you? You think
balance?
It's balance, yeah. Because why I'm asking, because like, there is a trend to be in balance with yourself and with the world outside of you. And I kind of relate to that. I think it's super important. At the same time, if you're not stressed, you probably don't get the results, the big results in your life.
So I worked in finance for 20 years and there was no balance because my nervous system was constantly being upregulated. Right, I'm in there, you know, I have a Bloomberg terminal, so everything is red and green all the time. Everybody is in a hurry, you know, there's profit loss. Then to relax, my colleague, if I go to the gym on a business trip, and a lot of my colleagues are also on the same business trip, 5 a.m. in the gym, everybody's in there. It's packed. Everyone's running on the treadmill. And then on the weekends, they're like, now I'm gonna de-stress by signing up for an ultra marathon. So we are so good at doing more and performing more. But the nervous system cannot develop and stay healthy by only going one way, right? You cannot drive your car constantly 160 miles per hour. So for me, balance was learning how to down-regulate. And for so many of us overachievers or people who live in a competitive society like Singapore or people who are culturally pushed to excel academically, we think that you have to do more and that's better for you. And it took a really long time for me to learn that sometimes the better thing you need to learn to do is to do less. And when you look at highly successful people, famous CEOs or visionaries, philosophers, thinkers, scientists, they actually say that, right? It's not about doing, it's about knowing what not to do. It's about knowing how to prioritize and it's knowing how to switch things up. You're not a good leader if you're a one-trick pony. You have one skill, right? You've got to round out your skill set. And that means knowing when to step on the brakes and knowing when to step on the gas. So personally, that's probably my ongoing work in progress, which is noticing that my usual coping mechanism for anxiety is to do more until I've mastered it. That when I'm bored, I want to do more. That as soon as I have a free minute, I pack my schedule. Well, that also leads me to a state of constant stress. So I'm also learning, last year I set out a goal that once every month I will set an entire Friday where I have no schedule. And this was so hard for me. because my entire life has been run around schedules. Here's when I have my test, this is when I need to study, here's when my sports match happens, I need to practice. But that that one Friday a month was my way of saying, okay, this is me learning how to down-regulate my nervous system, how to create space so that I can actually have the energy mentally, emotionally, and physically to go and perform at my best.
You didn't mention the meaning. I mean, if life is meaningful, it's easier for you to be stressed and be challenged if you understand why you're doing it.
Yes.
Versus if you're like just going automatically through your life, it's like you have so much stress, but why?
So we need to know our values and we need to know our vision, because then you can tough it out through any setback. Same with the marriage thing, right? When you said, do people stay together just for the kids? You've got to have something that is you, intrinsic to you, right? My value is to do this. Therefore, I can slog through the tough times. Right? Athletes, why are they able to train and to perform these incredible superhuman feats? It's because they have a goal, they have a clear purpose. Nobody ever really succeeded in a sustainable way at doing something that they were told to do or they're doing for somebody else. To really motivate, human nature is to express itself. Therefore, you must know what it is inside of yourself. What do you want? What is meaningful for you? Then go get it.
For sportsmen, actually, there is another side. Many of them, they actually go downhill after their career is ended. No goals are set anymore. They're not performing at the same level as before. I think it's also the problem.
And I think that's that's an unbalanced life, right? I have one thing and I'm gonna give my 120% for it without thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
Same, you say athletes, I say people in finance. I know a lot of people who are unhappy investment bankers, but they're in it for 20, 30 years because the money is good and they don't know what they do if they're retired. Balance is developing a hobby, knowing that there's something else in life, because even with relationships, right? When your happiness hinges on one person loving you back, gosh, that is a fragile system. But if your happiness means I have a career, I have children, I have friends, your partner might die in a car accident, but your life will be devastated, but you will have, again, a rich life. If everything in your life hinges on one thing, then that is a recipe for disaster. What if you have an accident as an athlete? What if you have an injury and you can never play again, right? The rest of your life is gonna be depression, right?
I actually started to feel more fragile after my first daughter was born, because she's so precious to me. And then I know that something happened to her, also my second daughter, that's it. I know it's a Russian politician, so he's one of the biggest ones. He's an opposition politician. And he has no kids, no family. And when he did this interview, he said that on purpose, I never created a family just to be free of this, so they cannot push me using my family members.
You and I had opposite processes around having our first children.
Right.
When I gave birth to my first child, I did my research, but it was to watch this documentary called Babies, where they follow for 1 year families ranging from Tokyo to San Francisco to Mongolia. And it really helped me stay chill as a mother, because the child in Mongolia was tied to a bedpost with a rooster in the same room. The children in Africa were sitting in the dirt, eating, and they thrived. So that helped me with the whole I need to sanitize everything and I must feed my child organic. The other thing that I reckoned with myself, because my father died when I was fairly young, this idea of mortality was always in my mind. And I read a lot, and leading up to having a child, I thought nothing is taken for granted in life. There are people whose children die before they die. There are people whose children, become estranged for them, even though they were loving, good parents, that I cannot pin my happiness as a person on this child. So before deciding to have the child, I really thought I have to, the moment I give birth, relinquish this life too, and be able to say that this child I brought into this world, but is not mine to keep. I get emotional talking about this because the idea of losing my child is so terrifying, but I also knew that to be resilient in this life, to love something so much, I have to face the possibility that it may not exist, it may not be for me.
I 100% agree. It's I don't treat my daughters as my belongings. So they are separate human beings. And that's why I'm so much more relaxed, thinking that they become what they want, job-wise, or the life that they will want to live, because they're not me.
They're not you.
And
so many cases I see where people love their children to the point of being overbearing, and placing all of their hopes and dreams on the child. And then the child never, they grow up and they come to see a therapist because they never had a chance to express themselves, or they felt like they had to caretake their parents' emotions because the parents are so fragile. Maybe the parent was a single parent, so then all of their life meaning and socializing came from the child. That's also not a healthy way for the child to develop, right, psychologically.
Yeah.
When you love your child so much, but you don't have this perspective that I have to be able to contemplate letting them go, you place so much of yourself on the child, and that is a heavy burden for a child to bear. That is not fair.
I actually had kind of similar with my mom, with my mother, because she was like so loving. Like she loved me too much.
Yeah.
My dad was like very like liberal and like democratic in a way. Oh, you go to the US, yeah, try it, like learn English, go explore the world, do what you want. And mom was always like, yeah, please call me when you get there, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I left my home when I was 21, and I was so relieved. I never actually told it to my mom that I was like.
Is she watching your channel?
She doesn't speak much English, so
okay, so we're safe.
So, and I was like so relieved, but I know she loved me a lot, I loved her a lot, but I cannot be together because it's like, there's so much love, it's actually, it destroys.
It's overpowering,
yes.
Yeah. Because then, so this is, I think, a hard thing for many cultures, families in these cultural setups to distinguish, which is there is a line between child and parent. And when you pour all of yourself, when the main meaning or the only meaning of you comes from how your child performs, that child is subject to a lot of pressure, a lot of spoken and unspoken expectations. So they're living in a box. Yeah. They don't know how to be themselves because they know only your wishes, your desires will make you happy, will make you unhappy. And as adults, that can lead to so many issues, right? Listlessness, directionlessness, being in a career they're not happy with, being in a relationship because the respectable thing was to get married and have kids, but then realizing that they're not happy in it. It is so important what you talk about, Max, is to love your child by giving them space and letting them go.
What would be one thing that everyone who is watching us right now can do, like right after they watch the interview? No, maybe first thing they watch another interview on maxchernovYT YouTube channel, also subscribe to this channel if you're watching without subscription. But then, one thing that can improve their life, some maybe small thing, small step.
Number one is developing awareness, self-awareness. You cannot have a good relationship with somebody else if you don't have a good relationship with yourself or don't even really understand who you are, what motivates you to behave in a certain way, and what outcomes you want. So you cannot get the job that you want without being aware of what really drives you. Is it what other people want? Do you want money? Do you want a fancy car? Or do you want a chill life? Do you want, space to be creative? So you basically cannot do anything, to me, optimally in your life without first being aware of who you are. And that starts with asking yourself, what is important to me? That starts with this practice every day of a few minutes just to observe what emotions and motivators led me to behave in a certain way and what was the consequence of that behavior. So I think of it, I've made this ABC chain, which is awareness. Then with the awareness, you can shape your behavior in an intentional way, and then C, you can have the consequence, right? So if you want to make any change in your life, if you feel like things aren't going the way you want, you cannot start with getting the end without going to the beginning. So go to the beginning, start questioning yourself, examine your assumptions, notice what thoughts are going through your head. Maybe you never tried for a job or to ask someone out because in your head was this script saying you're not good enough, you're never going to get it. Become aware of that, because when you're aware of it, then you have a chance of changing it. Oh, you might say, oh, I could never change. You can change. The first step of change is knowing what exactly is happening now so you know what you want to change.